What's up, and good evening to you. This is Todd, owner from the Toddcast, coming at you from the great state of PA, Central PA to be exact. My name is Todd Orndorff. I'll be your party host for this evening, drinking some Jim Beam. And I have another guest today. It's the same guy as last week, ladies and gentlemen, for part two, Mr. Shiner, Mick Shine. Shiner, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. And I forgot to say, from the Titty and Shiner show.
That's all right. That's all right.
Listen, to prepare for this, I was like doing a whole bunch of running around today, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing wine this week because I finished an entire bottle on one show at an hour and 25-minute show. And so we're going Jim Beam today. We're going old school backcountry stuff, you know?
Dude, that's like, I graduated high school in 1990. So that the Jim Beam years for me were like 88 through 92. That was like my Jim Beam phase in my life. Actually, I'll take that back, man. I grew up in a family of law enforcement officers, and Crown Royal seemed to be really popular with law enforcement guys.
That's okay.
So I grew up around Crown Royal, and so that was, I had buddies that were always trying to get let's get a bottle of Jack Daniels, and no, man, let's get Crown, and like they all hated me because it was more expensive, but God, man, to this day, I love me some Crown Royal, man. I love to sip on Crown Royal.
If you have a brown liquor like that, is it on the rocks? Is it neat? How you doing it?
As I got older, my drink was, God, through my 20s and 30s, it was definitely Crown and Coke. And
oh yeah,
so that was my whole jam about sitting down and having a cocktail. But as I've got older, I just prefer to have it on the rocks, and definitely used to, there's something to be said for sitting around a campfire and just sipping on a nice glass of whiskey.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, you give me whiskey, you give me bourbon, whatever, however you want to classify things or whatever, on the rocks, heavy rocks.
Okay.
Heavy rocks. I used to do so the first drink I ever had in my life was a rum and Coke at the Borgata in Atlantic City, 21st birthday. First drink I ever had was my 21st birthday.
See, I remember this about you. You have lived a lot straighter than a lot of people have. Isn't it true you've never smoked weed?
I've never seen it with my own two eyes.
That's what, I knew there was something really, and that is wild to me.
In 2024, that's wild to a lot of people.
Do you guys have medical marijuana in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
And you still haven't seen it?
No, I'm a loner, dude. I don't hang out with people.
And you don't know how to drive. You don't know how to drive a motorcycle, ride a motorcycle either, do you?
Never been on one.
That is so crazy.
I've never been on one.
As we became friends, that was just two things I assumed that, was. Yeah. And it's amazing to me. Like I'm kind of like fascinated by the fact that those are two very well, at least in my world, very common things that you've never experienced. That's wild to me, man. I get it though. My dad was a cop, and I get it because, he was, when we passed medical marijuana, I got to talking to him about how he felt about it, because he made mention that him and my mother both voted for it, which I was floored by.
Right.
And he told me, he's open-minded enough to see the benefits it gives people and stuff. But he told me, he said, you got to realize, when I became a police officer in 1972, if I caught you with a joint in your pocket, you were going to the penitentiary. I was like, what? And he was like, that's how hardcore. So I guess people like you, if you're going to follow the rules, you follow them to a T.
I do follow the rules, man. So listen, so like you, and like we mentioned last week, my grandfather was a cop.
Right.
He's a lieutenant for years. And I know he wouldn't be having any of that stuff, right? He's old school generation. My dad to this day is the scariest man I've ever met in my life. And so he's 61. He's never tried it. My mom's never tried it. And
that's impressive.
You know what? At 2024, I'm a part of a very elite little club.
Man, you are, dude.
I've never tried it.
Very much so.
I've never tried a cigarette. No, the worst thing I've ever done in my life is chew. But I was a baseball player, so it kind of came with it.
How old were you when you started chewing?
Do you want to know the story? I'll tell you.
Let me have it. I got one too.
Yeah, we both were trespassing. We both have different stuff, but they all link together. No, I don't. I've told this on my show, but I don't know how many people have heard the episodes and whatnot or whatever, or this particular episode. I don't even know which one it's on. The first, so to go back, whenever I mentioned about my old stepdad, he was the one who introduced me to the outdoors. He was a Skull Fine Cut wintergreen guy.
Okay. That's what my dad was growing up too. Yeah.
Right. And my Uncle Greg, his brother, he was a Copenhagen guy. So, like I just grew up around it, but I never did it, because my dad would whip my tail, so I didn't do it. But there comes a point when you're 18 and you're in pretty good shape and you can outrun these people.
Yeah. So, odds are on your side.
So freshman year of college, went to college to play baseball, and we had a scrimmage against another school before the season actually started. Okay, and I'm playing third base. I went there as a pitcher, but in the scrimmage, I'm playing third base. And right before we take the field for the first inning of my first ever college game of some sort, my shortstop, Phil Woodring. Phil, how are you, buddy? This is your fault. He's like, all right, guys, I got the first one. And he smacks his hands together and he takes the top lid off, and it's and he's got skull apple. I'm a freshman. I grew up around it. You know what I mean?
You're like, I got this.
I'm like, first of all, I'm a man. I'm 18.
Yeah.
I'm a macho man. I'm playing college baseball. So there's Phil. He lifts it up, and boom, everybody grabs one. I was the last one to go. Freshman, you don't want to jump in early.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know your place.
There's a chain of command. So this is the worst story ever. It's so embarrassing. So I throw it in there. I was like, oh, this don't taste like apple, but it ain't bad. It's not like a Macintosh I'm chewing on. So we go on out there, or a Granny Smith, whatever. So we go on out, and before the first pitch, we're doing the infield warm-ups, and I'm catching my ground balls, throwing them across. I'm not feeling anything, dude. I never knew that at some point you feel something. I thought you just shove some bark in your face and you're done, Like I never asked questions about it growing up. So then all of a sudden, dude, like we're like infield's over. We're getting like, here come the umpires taking their positions. And all of a sudden, dude, I'm starting to feel a little weird. Right. So I don't know if you ever played ball or anything like that, but when there's a left-handed batter up, okay, and you're a third baseman, you never play against the line because you got to cover the hole in between third and short.
Right.
So I was playing off the bag quite a bit to help cover the hole. I need a drink to this story. So I'm playing off the line. The pitcher, I don't remember who it was anymore, but he threw a heater, dude, belt high down Broadway, right down the freaking gut, and the batter was late on it. So what's he do? He hits it right down at third freaking baseline. So I'm there like in the ready position, and all of a sudden I take my cross step, boom, and I dive for it. And dude, I dove too far. Apparently I got some ups and I never knew it, but I dove too far and I smacked my face off of third base. So like here's the bag and I'm like, boom, and it hits me right in the lip. Well, I never had great. Dude, don't even laugh at me. Everybody else did too. So I got these grains like all throughout my tongue. Like now I'm really starting to feel weird because I'm swallowing. As I sit here right now, bro, I stand up. Things are spinning. Like the world's like not spinning. It's like tumbling, right? So then right there in front of the third base coach, dude, I yak right at his feet. I throw
but
up.
You stuck with it, bud. You stuck with it to this day. You're still chewing. So
I know. I yacked right at his feet, and dude, after the inning, like I said, all it was a scrimmage. We go back in the dugout, and my coach grabs me right by the jersey, right, like right by the jersey, and he rips me down the end of it. If you're not man enough to do this stuff, don't do it. Like, but I am man enough. I just never did it.
Bro. when I started, okay, so my dad being a cop, like I mean, you didn't see my dad very much growing up because if he ain't working at the city, he's working part-time jobs.
Right.
So every once in a while, like maybe one day a week or once every 10 days, he'd have a whole day off at home. And so it's the summer between first and second grade. And my brother's 3 years younger than me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so my dad starts getting up for the day and he's already told everybody he's just going to work on the yard all day long. And so my mom tells him like, "Hey, I've been putting up with these two little assholes for days, I need a break. I'm going to go shopping." So she takes off and my dad gets all this fucking yard equipment out there and stuff. And so he sticks a dip of skull in his mouth. And we do it all the time when we see him do it. We run over there. Hey, give us one of those. And we keep doing it long enough, and he just wants some peace on his day off. He's like,
Yeah.
come here. So he sits on the front porch and he pulls each of our lip out and sticks some skull in there. All right, go get out of here, go play. So man, we're running around the yard playing and spitting and thinking we are big stuff.
Yeah,
My
you do.
mom, my mom comes home from shopping and she's getting out of the car and she sees us spitting and stuff in the driveway, and she looks at my dad and she's like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "I thought they'd get sick and that would be the end of that." Like he's like, it's an hour into it and neither one of them's got ill yet,
You lasted an hour?
dude. And from that day on, we were like, okay, we just choose skull now. So we'd get on our bikes. This is back when people were at least in Oklahoma, it wasn't like super like we weren't real big on not littering. So there was fucking aluminum cans all over the place. And we'd get on our bikes and grab the same wagon we put the catfish in that night, and we drove cans and we'd go cash those in at a Safeway, and then ride to the convenience store and take that money that we made on those cans and buy a can of skull and split it.
They sold it to you?
Yeah, there was no law about how old. Every once in a while, we'd have an attendant look at it over the counter and be like, "How? Where are your parents?" And out in the car, and they'd sell it to you anyway, dude. I mean, yeah, it was
Wow.
crazy. Well, my brother, he was in kindergarten, and we had a daycare that we went to after school, and he got in trouble because him and his best friend climbed over the fence and walked about a half mile to a convenience store, and my dad found out about it and asked my brother, and he was like, my dad tells him, he's like, "Hey, son, this police officer that I know said he was driving around south part of town and saw a little boy walking down the road, looked just like you." And my brother said, "It was me, Dad." He's like, "What the hell were you doing?" He was like, "Me and Rusty, man, we got to talking on the playground. We both needed to dip a skull real bad. So we went down to the Get and Go and bought a can of skull." He's in daycare in kindergarten, bro. That's how you grow up in Oklahoma, I
That's how
guess.
you
That's
grow up in
crazy, man.
Oklahoma, dude. I thought
Crazy.
I thought PA had some stuff, but there's
Oh,
no
bro,
5-year-olds,
I could
packing.
I could go deep in the well and tell you some crazy stuff that goes on around this
I
place.
1000% believe you, my man.
Like,
1000%
there's
believe
stuff that I see all the time. I'm like, what in the hell is going on, man?
you. Speaking of so folks, we were supposed to do this yesterday, and then we got I don't is there any snow down there?
Oh yeah, we got snow. It's melting off, but yeah, over the weekend we had snow on the ground.
We can't stop getting snowstorms. So Tuesday, folks, we were supposed to do this yesterday, which was Wednesday. We were recording this on Thursday night. And I had to be the guy and say, "Hey, look, sorry, dude, we got to change the date to tomorrow." And I pretty much, it's not, I didn't sign a legal NDA, but I just know I'm not allowed to
Right.
tell you what I did. But the reason why that I had to cancel on you yesterday was so I got up early in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, not on purpose. And if you guys remember, if you listened to last week's show, I mentioned about a good friend of mine from Louisiana, Miss Chelsea Falcon, being an absolute gangster of a hunter. Dude, she was in the Northeast, just happened to be in the Northeast after we just talked about her.
What are the chances of this?
I have no
Astronomical.
she lives in Houma, Louisiana. I don't freaking
Yeah.
know. So I see that she's in Delaware hunting, and so down in Louisiana, at least where she's at, and the type of hunting that she's really known for is like ducks and geese and all that jazz.
Waterfowl
right?
stuff.
Waterfowl stuff, yes. Huge into waterfowl. Trust me, she's killed others, but she's really big into waterfowl.
If you live in Louisiana, that's a good place to be a waterfowler. I mean, that's like some of the primo waterfowl hunting destination areas in the country.
I've always envisioned like Pennsylvania deer hunting, like their waterfowl hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's that prominent.
Arkansas and Louisiana both are like that. Like
right.
Arkansas is deep in it too.
Right. So I traveled. So she's flying out of BWI. She's flying out of Baltimore freaking airport. That's 2.5 hours away. 12 years friendship. Never met her. Talked 1.5 million times. So I left my house at 3:00 in the morning, and I drove to Baltimore. Cool. Yeah,
that's
I'm like,
cool.
And it was the day after our show. I sent her the timestamp of when we talked about it. I was like, hey, I brought you up on the show. So then I asked her, you want to be on the show? She said, heck yeah. So
cool.
So we're going to try to get her on the show next week. But I drive down and I meet her for the first time ever. And dude, it's freaking awesome, But that's not why I had to cancel. So I made a huge loop yesterday, Shiner. I went from the Central PA, to be exact, to Baltimore, to New York City, and then back to Central PA, to be exact again. Have you ever been to New York City?
No, I have not.
It's hectic.
I've got really bad PTSD, and I don't think I would fare very well. And here's why. My parents went, and my mother, I had never thought about this, but she said the one thing that she noticed was that you have to look straight up to see the sky. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I could deal with that.
I'm not even sure you get to see the sky in some parts, depending on where you're standing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, unless you're looking directly above you, it's really, really hard because the buildings are, 1.5 miles high.
That's intense, bro.
So every time, Shiner, that you go to say, like, let's just say where the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is in Times Square, okay?
Okay.
It's like people usually don't really drive through there. Like taxis do.
Okay.
I had to go pick up a particular piece of memorabilia yesterday that there was no choice. I had to come home with it. It was like do or die. That's the only thing I'm going to mention about that to the people. I'll tell you after the show, but okay. It's pretty amazing, not going to lie. And I had to go to this place called Sotheby's, and it's a really prestigious place. It was like I felt out of place. Like
isn't that like an auction house?
They do like authentications and stuff. Yes, it is. But dude, the reason why I'm saying is my directions to get me there drove me through Times Square.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine how that is.
Like where you see the ball drop and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm right in there like 10 and 2 because I'm freaking out because people are like, people don't use the walk, the crosswalks or whatever. If the freaking hand is up, you're not supposed to go. I think that's universal. Well, they go anyhow, Dude, I took a screenshot because I had to use my GPS. I took a screenshot of when I was 3 miles away. 31 or 37 minutes.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
To go 3 miles.
I would lose my mind, dude.
Oh, dude, I was going freaking nuts. And then I parked in front of a hospital thinking I was going to get towed, but I didn't have anywhere else to park. So I just slammed in park and I was running down the freaking Times Square and stuff, just kicking up dirt, but so I left my house at 3:00 in the morning, Shiner. I didn't get back till after 10 last night.
Oh my God, dude. I've had those days, man. They suck. They suck.
I had an appointment and there's absolutely, once you find out what it is, you'll know why I couldn't miss it. But like I had to cancel on it. I am sorry for that because we did have it locked down for a week. But
no, bro, it's it worked out well.
Snowstorm. It was the snowstorm that caused me to go a day late.
it, it worked out well because, well, so as of Monday at 6:03 p.m., hunting season closed here. So now I'm trying to get caught up because I've got this, like, for the last 100 days I've been hunting. So now I've got this plethora of content that I've got to do stuff with. And I'm sitting
Right.
down like, oh my God, I got all this stuff. So yeah, it worked out well because I had plenty of stuff to keep me busy. It wasn't like I had nothing to do. So I was like, well, I'm up and around, I was gonna do this. I might as well knock out some of this editing I got to do. So
Well, I know your season ended, and there's a rumor that there's a story about your last day.
so yeah, so you asked about snow. So on Sunday morning, I guess.
And and
Yeah.
and just so everybody knows, I don't know this story yet,
Yeah.
but there is
Yeah.
a rumor there is one.
So so my whole season I've had this goal of I was gonna put down a big buck in honor of my dad since my dad passed this last April. So as the season progressed, I mean, I've never hunted this property before. We've never had our hands on it. I guess we had our hands on it last year, but we didn't hunt it.
Is this
And
where you've
so,
been hunting all year? The first time?
yeah.
Okay.
So this is
Okay.
the first year we hunted it. So, and my girlfriend, the nurse, she didn't hunt this year just because of work commitment. So it was just me out there hunting. So I get everything set up in the spring. I start hunting. I stick some cameras out and I'm getting pictures of some nice looking, I mean, not great, but I mean, good looking little 8 point bucks, and I'm like, in a couple of years, those guys will be monsters if I don't shoot them. So I end up as the season progresses, I find out, no, we have more than that here. We have actually, I've got one that is probably a booner. I mean,
What?
yeah, I got one picture of him that he's
Oh,
an,
I saw the picture.
he does, and I've seen him several times. And he probably goes over 160 inches, I would say conservatively. Like he is huge.
Did you
And then
post a
I've
picture
got
of him, right?
mhm,
Yeah, yeah, I saw him.
there's a daytime trail camera picture that I posted with him. And then I have two other ones that probably go 140 easy.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm trying to kill those deer, and the season keeps progressing. We talked last week. I had one that ducked a bolt that I sent at it. I had another one that was small that I hit that got to the property line, and then I had one that I couldn't recover. Never found her, but then so I'm sitting down there. It, Sunday morning it rolls around. I threw 40 pounds of corn down on the ground because I knew we had weather coming in. Well, about midday, it came in, and I mean, it snowed a lot harder than they were anticipating. It just covered the ground in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
So, and the temperature went. I mean, we had one day, I think Sunday, the high was 4. So
Oh my god.
Sunday evening, I'm down there. So Monday morning is the last day, and I still don't have meat in the freezer. So I go down from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I don't see anything but cardinals running around. I'm like, oh man. But I know every evening between 5 and 6, there's two does that come in there on that corn pile. I know they come in there. So I come back up at 9 in the morning and I get in the house and get myself warmed up. When I'm hunting that morning, the actual temperature is 2 degrees. The
Oh
wind
my
chill's like,
god.
yeah, the wind chill's like well below zero. So I hang out. I tell the nurse, I said, she works nights. So she gets up late in the day and she's like, what's the plan today? I said, I'm going to hunt from 1 to 3. I'm going to come in from 3 to 4 and warm up. And then I'm going to go out from 4 to 6. So I go down there and I sit from 1 to 3 and I don't see anything. So I just come up to the house and eat a bite, get something warm in my belly, and I go right back down there. I mean, I'm only out of the blind for probably a half hour. So I'm sitting in there, man, I'm battling it, man. My feet are numb. I'm cold. I'm miserable. And it's 5:30 and I still have not seen a deer. And I'm like, this is just how the season ends, I guess. So I start gathering my stuff up and, getting my thermos and stuff like that gathered up. And something catches my attention. I look out the front window of the blind and here come those two does and they're creeping in on that corn. And I went, oh, perfect. So it looks like it's a doe that probably has an older yearling with her. So I'm definitely I want to kill that big doe. And they get on the corn and both of them are just as straight head on to me as they can be. And I'm like, Dad gummit. So I'm sitting there trying to be patient. And in between bites of corn, they keep picking their head up and looking at that blind. So I'm trying to be real still. And finally, the smaller of the two turns just perfectly broadside to me. And I'm like, here, okay, that's it. That's the one I'm taking. I'm not going to
Last
wait around for
day.
this other. Yeah. And now I'm looking at it's 5:35 in the evening. I've only got about 25 minutes to shoot. So I sit there and I make sure everything I make sure my breathing's not out of hand. I'm trying to stay calm because you got that adrenaline just racing through you.
Dude, yes.
And I reach out and grab the trigger and I squeeze it, and that sends that bolt. And I mean, I see the one I shoot at, I see her turn and she drops her ass down. And I'm like, did I hit her in the back end?
Right.
And they take off for this game trail and they run about probably 20 yards up into the timber and just stop. And I'm like, and I'm watching her. I'm thinking, oh, she'll fall in a second. She never falls. So the older one walks off, just meanders off in the timber. And the one I shot at comes back. And I'm like, this is and I don't have any more bolts with me.
Wait, it came
And I'm
back to the
like,
corn?
yeah. And I'm like,
What?
this is insane. So I sit there for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I'm like, I don't have a bolt. There's nothing I can do about this. So I just start climbing out of the blind. Or she doesn't even bolt out of there then. She just kind of trots up in the timber and like never blows at me, nothing.
It
Like,
wasn't stomping or anything.
no,
Knowing that, hey,
nothing.
there's something around.
Yeah. I'm like, what is so I go over to where, they were standing over the corn. There's no blood. And I'm like, how this is a chip shot. They were 18 yards from me. Like, how
Right.
what is going on? So I can't figure it out. I walk back over to the blind. So the front of the blind, instead of having the big window open, I had the small gun port window open, and that fabric was laid over. So when I had my bow raised up and I was looking through that reticle, the arrow was in front of that freaking door. And when I sent it, it grabbed that door. There's two perfect little razor cuts across the top of that thing. And it sent that thing and I was like, you know what? this is just typifying my season right here, man. And here's the secret of the whole deal that I haven't told anybody. 24 hours before that, I did the exact same thing on the exact same two deer.
What?
Yep. It happened the day before.
Oh my gosh.
Monday, when I sat down there, I opened that window up farther. If they'd have been broadside when I first saw them, I'd have shot one of them. But by the time I shot her, she had moved closer to me, and I had to drop my bow down. And when I did, it went low enough it got that window a second time. Right? So,
dude,
that blind isn't brushed in. So I told my girlfriend, I was like, man, as soon as it warms up, I'm brushing that thing in for next year. And I'm opening that big ass window. You think you got plenty of room, but you just don't, but it's, I was really disappointed because I didn't put a deer down in the dirt. And that was my whole goal, just to memorialize my dad. And then I thought a lot about it, and I was like, I was really angry because I wanted that to be the story, and I thought, well, maybe that's obviously not the story to be told. The story to be told is how it really played out. And, it was we talked last week about how he always told me, you hunt for meat, never for horns, and maybe this was his way of impressing that on me again. I don't know, man. He came up with some wild plan. I was telling you earlier, I touched on, we used to have a deer lease that him and I hunted, and every morning we'd walk in there. He'd get off this little trail we were walking on. He had this live trap set up, and the first morning we do it, we get in the blind. I'm like, what was that about? What are you trying to trap? He said, we got a bobcat out here. I said, what are you going to do if you trap him? He goes, I'm going to take him home and domesticate it. I went, what? And he said, man, I've been reading about it.
Can you imagine?
He said, and he's dead serious. And my dad was the most methodical person in the world.
That they're so mean.
And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, I've been doing a lot of reading on the internet. He said, it's possible to domesticate these things. How cool would that be if I had like a bobcat as a pet? And I said, so you made your mind up? He goes, hell, I bought a trap to do it. I said, man, I fully support this. Mom needs a YouTube channel. She needs to document this cat just messing you up day in and day out. Like,
that's how you go viral. Viral 101 is right there.
my girlfriend told him, she said, think about how bad a house cat can mess you up. Like a house cat can ruin your day.
Dude, think of
Like,
Simo.
yeah. If you don't believe me, get a hold of Johnny Sparkles. He'll tell you how bad a house cat can mess you up.
Yeah, like $27,000 later with shots.
That is still one of the best stories ever.
He got kung fu, man.
Bro, that if you could have seen the Marco Polo videos he was sending me, I wish I had those saved somewhere because it didn't. Well, him and Titty didn't know each other yet. And so that's how Titty was introduced to Simo. Because I'm looking at my phone going, holy shit. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, come here and look at all these. And he's like speechless. And then he's like, who is this? This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I go, this isn't a skit. This is all really taking place right now. Like, what? I'm like, yeah, this isn't like an internet thing. This is really like a documentary happening before our eyes.
Right.
It is insane, bro. Insane. He goes in the shop. The second video I got, well, the first one he's talking to me, and then he sees the cat. And he's like, I'll get back with you. There's a cat in the road. I'm like, okay.
Oh, so it was literally as is.
Yeah, he thought it was dead. He was he was getting it out of the road so people wouldn't run over it. And so he leaves. And then the next video I get, he's at his shop. He's got his jeans around his ankles and his legs, dude. They look like somebody had taken a cat of nine tails and whipped him with it. Like his legs were, and you could tell they were all red and starting to get inflamed. Like, and he's rolling around going, oh shit, Shiner. Oh shit, Shiner. It got me. And I'm like, what got him? Because the last I heard, there was a dead cat in the road.
Yeah.
And then he tells me how he went out there. And as soon as he got close to that thing came alive and just went ape shit on him. Like, yeah. I laughed so hard, bro. Like
he tells that story on one of the episodes, and it like you'll pee yourself.
Oh, dude, that was the most comical thing I have ever. That's the one thing when Johnny texts you, man, or he sends you something, there's always the possibility of some kind of craziness going on. Like you never know.
I love that guy.
Dude, he's one of the, he came out here to visit me. I had a couple of years ago, I had this bout with cancer, and he came out to visit me, and dude, we turned him on to guacamole. He always thought he hated guacamole. Like we got him eating guacamole. He was like, this is delicious.
Did you take him to get street tacos like you and I went and got?
I think we did.
Dude, they're so good down there.
Dude, man, that taco truck, that's the best in town. And man, it's dynamite, bro.
It really is. You were talking about being what, 2 degrees or whatever?
Yeah.
In 2014, I went out just north of Columbus, Ohio, to bow hunt for a TV show on the Outdoor Channel. And, at that time, Shiner, I was living in Baltimore. I didn't know anybody really except for my coworkers. It's Baltimore and nobody else bow hunted, Yeah. So all I did after work, dude, I would go to this place called Anne Arundel Archers, the most magical archery range in the history of the universe. And, dude, they had lanes cut through the forest out to 110 yards. You know how fun that is to try?
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah.
That's fun, And so I would spend every day there. I'd literally go 7 days a week and just shoot for like 2 or 3 hours. I'd walk home and my arm would be hanging, because at the time I was pulling back 70 pounds and I'd be out there. That's a lot
on a bow.
It's a lot on this too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so I go out to Columbus, Ohio, and I know I'm dialed in. I shoot enough. I know I'm dialed in. I'm very, very confident with a bow. Not confident with a ton of things in life, but give me a bow and I feel pretty confident.
Yeah.
So I go out there, Shiner, and it's -3 degrees, 35 mile per hour winds. Now I don't know if you know this about Pennsylvania, but we're not allowed to bait, right? Like we're not allowed to throw corn down and things like that. Ohio, they are.
Yeah.
So my first day doing this, whenever I get out, I was out there for a 3-day stay, out there for a 3-day filming. And about 20, what they shoot it at, I think it was like 26 yards was the corn pile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like your 18-yard shot or 17-yard shot, it's a chip shot.
Yeah.
So The first day that we get in the blind, they say at 7:06, be ready. I'm like 7:06. What if it's 7:04? You know,
Yeah, and
like
I'm not ready.
That's where my mind goes, right? So, dude, I'm the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life was at 7:06 that day. End of January, I believe it was. There was a line, Shiner, and I kid you not. I may have told this story many years ago on the show, but there was a line of legitimately over 100 turkey that made a single file line. Like they're like grade school kids, like coming in from recess, right? And these turkey covered the corn. As many as it took to cover the corn, you couldn't see yellow anymore. When one turkey got off, one turkey came on. If 4 turkey came off because they were done, 4 turkey came on until all 100 ate.
What? Isn't that crazy to watch that kind of stuff happen?
Dude, I was blown. I wish I would give anything to still have the video. I had a video of the whole thing.
That's crazy to watch that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah, it really was. So,
wow.
We weren't out for turkey. We were out for deer. So I just had I would have, we were out for turkey, I would have been okay with not shooting. Just watching that was amazing enough.
Yeah.
So I don't bag anything my first day. I don't bag anything my second day. My third day there, third and final, we're at like the 11th hour. It's -3 degrees, 35-mile-per-hour winds. 35. That's brutal.
Yeah, dude.
In the timbers, especially. Here come these 3 doe, Shiner. And I was able to score a buck tag and I think 2 doe tags. I don't remember. I had at least one. And there's this doe, and it went around the corn pile and probably, I think we shot at like 35 yards back behind the corn pile at 9 yards or whatever. There was a whole bunch of not trees, but just like a bunch of stuff, like a thicket almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But there was this opening this big in that freaking in the thicket. I would have bet you $1 million anytime. You give me a window like this at 35 yards, it's totally toast. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure enough, this one freaking doe, it couldn't have been, I must have done something wrong in a past life for this to happen to me. Like, I swear I'm not one to burn down an orphanage, but I might have. I don't know. Because this is this bad. This one, the biggest of the 2 or 3 does, whatever it was, came down and it was broadside, and just behind its shoulder was right in this.
Yeah, I've shot a deer like that before.
It was in this. I had my most favorite bow I ever had in my life was a 2012 model Martin Bengal Pro. And that's what I had. And I was full freaking draw. But dude, that wind, I drove, I think 9.5 hours for this filming. And I'm a full draw. And dude, I'm like starting to shake too, you know, because I really want to do this. This is a great experience. And I'm here and I'm thinking about the wind, and I let my arrow down because I don't want to wound that animal with that kind of wind. But dude, I know cold weather, man. It is freaking brutal.
It's hard.
The year before that, 2013. This is really embarrassing. I don't even know why I'm telling this story. So, have you ever been lost in the woods?
I've been lost in the mountains. Like in Colorado, I was in middle school, and we went up elk hunting, and my brother and I went off on our own, and we got lost in the mountains. We spent a night in a round bale.
In a what?
Round bale of hay.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. We were out all night long. So, and that's how my dad was like, I was worried about you guys, but I knew you guys knew how to survive. Like, I knew you weren't just going to sit on the side of the mountain, you know, like,
well,
I think I remember something about this.
Your dad might not have been happy with me this night. I don't know. Dude, so 2013 Pennsylvania deer hunting, we got I think I was in 12 to 18 inches of snow. I was living in Baltimore. So I drove up I was fortunate enough at the job that I had at the time to have weekends off. And in the casino industry, it's like 99.9% chance you'll never get weekends off. But if somehow I got them. And so I drove out to PA for freaking rifle season, right?
Right.
And I'm the type of guy who always hunts alone. I never take anybody with me. I like I said, I'm a loner through and through. But I remember being at my house in Baltimore, and I was just I don't know, probably the Pennsylvania Game Commission website or something. I was checking out all these different game lands. I like to hunt different places because I have to do public land, right?
Right.
So I just find new places and I just go, and I think I'm a man and I can find my way out. Well, guess what? One day I did not, brother. And 14,500 acres I ventured on in. And you know how they tell you, like, if you've never been somewhere, don't really trace tracks. Don't really chase tracks because you'll get circled.
Yeah.
A mile and a half in, guess what I saw? Tracks that I believe they were elk tracks because they were huge.
Yeah.
So I'm on an adventure, brother. There's 12 to 18 inches of snow. So, just so happens I couldn't find my way. I had no idea what I was doing. I was going somewhere, but I was going deeper. I later found out. Pennsylvania winters up in, so the town is called Clearfield, Pennsylvania, and there's a sign actually on the way to Clearfield. It says like the highest point north of the Mason-Dixon or something like that. It's like right here, and that's where I was. So freezing freaking cold.
Yeah.
You know, so stupid. And so I get lost. I have no choice, dude. It was pitch black, and I had to sleep at the base of a tree in the middle of a Pennsylvania winter. Which, if you've ever experienced it, it's really brutal. It's like
what?
Huh?
Why didn't you build a snow cave?
Because I was freaking out, Shiner. I don't know. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. So I would have liked to, but I didn't. You know, looking back, absolutely.
I would have found me a big evergreen and built a snow cave underneath that thing.
There was enough snow to do so, let me tell you. So I don't know how many people listening to this have ever like spent the night legitimately in the wilderness. There are things you hear at night in the woods that you don't hear during the day, and you'll never hear in your lifetime unless you're out at night in the wilderness.
And chances are you're never going to know what made it.
No.
What made that noise.
Dude, I had a Savage. So my hunting rifle is a Savage Model 110 30-06. It's one of the most awesome hunting rifles ever made, in my opinion. And I'm sitting there against this tree, shivering, flopping like a crappie on a bass boat, you know. And I'll bet you, I don't even know if I slept, to be honest with you. Have you ever been so cold in the woods where like your eyes just like you can't see?
Yeah.
Because they get so cold.
Yeah.
That was me for hours, Shiner.
And then you start having to talk yourself out of it like you're not dying.
Dude, that messes with your psyche a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there at the base of the street and I'm hearing these things, and like, you know, it's like there's snow, but the top is iced over and you can hear things going through, you know. I'm like, oh, is it going to step on me? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? So the whole time I'm cocked and locked. I'm ready to rock and roll and just shoot in the blackness if I need to. Right. But, so the next morning, apparently I was able to see sunrise, which is the greatest feeling I've ever felt in my life. And, turns out I ended up being just under 2 miles away from my vehicle. Some dude, I never thought I'd be the guy to have to thumb it, but dude, I thumbed it. And some old head in a really old Ford F-150. He stopped and he's like, "You okay?" And I said, No, dude, I'm not. Let me tell you why. Like, I told him like my story. Like, he's just trying to help. I feel bad, but. So when I was in Baltimore, I got hooked up with Under Armour because that's where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to get like packages of free Under Armour all the time. And dude, it was 2 months before this hunting trip. They sent me their brand new, at the time, Under Armour base layers. I still use them to this day because they work. They're like this freaking thick, man.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe with everything in my being, that's why I didn't die that night, is
Probably.
because of those base layers. The deer
Bro,
I shot this year, I was wearing them, and we just had, like there wasn't even snow on the ground, but I just wear them. Like, I'm gonna wear them
yeah.
to bed tonight just in case my heat
Good
goes
luck.
off.
Yeah, it's just good luck charm now, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. I used to work on a search and rescue team, and yeah, man, people that have spent all night in the wilderness, you're right, it messes with your psyche a lot. Like
yeah,
they need some debriefing because man, everybody I've ever got out of the wilderness after a night out there, but especially if it's people that don't have experience out there,
right.
that'll really twist on their head. I don't know,
Fortune,
man. The cold puts a whole nother layer of challenge on being out and hunting or doing anything outside.
you know what else it does though, for the hunter, and and I firmly believe if a hunter doesn't feel this way, like if a hunter doesn't feel this way, I'm going to lose a lot of respect for that hunter. If you're out there, if you're fighting those elements, right? Because as a hunter, you literally proceed into the land of the unknown. We're going in somebody else's land, and that's the
Yeah, that's
animals.
not our stadium, not by
No,
any means,
if you don't gain respect for these animals and what they endure, especially
bro.
being in the Northeast, if you don't respect these animals and what they have to go through, dude, there's something wrong with you because they go through some hellacious stuff.
Bro, I mean, that's
I tried to sleep through it and I couldn't.
I watched, the sun started getting below the canopy Monday night when those deer were coming in. And I mean, as soon as that shade came down in that creek bottom, man, you could just feel the temperature plummeting. And I'm like, man, this isn't even the coldest it's gonna get. But it was when they walked in there, bro, it was brutal cold. Any exposed skin, I mean, it was gonna free. I mean, not freeze solid, but you started having that burning sensation on it, because it's so
Yes.
cold. And my feet, dude. I went to bed that night and I woke up at like 3 or 4 in the morning. My feet still burned from being so cold. And the nurse was like, "I think you started to get frostbite sitting out there." I wouldn't doubt. I mean, that's dangerous cold. And then it's like you said. And then I'm watching those deer and I'm thinking, it's this freaking cold and they got to continue just business as usual. They got to find food, you
Yeah.
know. And when they're not, and then I'm thinking, when they're not looking for food, they're bedded down. Can you imagine laying still in that kind of cold, like,
Dude,
man,
that's why I get so fired up when these antis are like, you don't care about the animals. Screw you, brother.
yeah, yeah.
I've had to live for a night in their element, and I thought I was dying.
Bro, I'm not by any means a religious person. I'm very spiritual, but I'm not religious. But I've never taken a deer or been with anybody that's taken a deer, I don't think, that hasn't stopped and had a moment of silence to thank that animal for its sacrifice, And
Every single time.
every
Swear to the
time,
heavens
bro.
above, every single time. If you
That's,
don't
go ahead.
if you don't feel an ounce of like, there's like almost like a I was about to say like a come to Jesus moment or something, but like whenever you are fortunate enough, because that's what you are, you're very fortunate if you're able to harvest an animal because it's so freaking hard.
Yeah.
But when the time comes and you approach that animal and it's there and it's no more, if you don't feel something,
You're a
if
psychopath.
you don't feel something, I don't feel comfortable with you being in the woods.
No, yeah.
You're just
I don't want to
at
be
that
I don't want to
point,
be around you with a firearm.
you're just a stone cold killer at that point.
True story, dude. 100%. 100%, bro.
I remember hunting so hard one time where like it was all said and done. I got my harvest and I sat right beside it, dude. And I'm a man. I'll tell you, I ain't gonna lie, dude. I got tears. Like this whole experience was so hard, and I sat there right beside it, and dude, I was just petting it. Like I was so thankful,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
thankful, and also proud that I was able to overcome this amazing challenge that I had because I hunted really, really hard. I was grinding like I've never had to grind before. And here it is. And I just know that like you mentioned, like I got to fill my freezer. I was so thankful that animal came my way.
Well, I mean, and you think about things, dude, like you think about everything that has to be just right for you to take an animal out of the woods. I mean, there has to be so many things that play out the way they need to be able to do it. Hell, dude, that's what I've always tried to to impress on my girlfriend is like when I started teaching her to hunt, like the first place I took her was this really badass lease that we had out in western Oklahoma. She saw deer on her first trip in the woods, you know? And I was like, you don't understand how I think Johnny was the one that told me, I think he hunted like 5 years or something before he even saw a deer in the woods,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he hunted a number of years. I think he's the one that told me that.
Well, let me tell you, if it is him, he knows where they're at now because I've been saying it for years on this show. He goes out for 3 hours and comes back with 7 deer. I don't know how he freaking does it. He's killed more deer in 2 years than I have in 10.
But like when I finally got her, because I guess the year before I met her, I had to quit shooting a compound because my left shoulder's just so wrecked. I couldn't. I used to shoot 70 pounds, and then I took it down to 60.
That's what I just did.
Yeah, and then I took it down to 50. And then when I couldn't do 50 anymore, I was like, I'm not shooting a 40-pound bow. Like I just refused to do that. And I mean, I still enjoy, but don't get me wrong, man. I enjoy everything about hunting, but I miss the challenge of shooting a compound at them because I mean, with technology and everything, dude, crossbows now are just as accurate as a rifle. And
Yeah.
if you don't hit the door of the gun port, I mean, I'm pretty surgical with it 9 times out of 10. And it's just not, maybe that's why I had the season I did, because it got to the point it wasn't really challenging to shoot them anymore, you know?
Right.
But that's when I taught her to hunt. We finally, that was another crazy story because it was her second season of hunting. She was at the time she was traveling for work, so she literally had one day, and it was actually just a morning sit. We went out to western Oklahoma to hunt for 3 hours, and that was her only hunting trip of the year. And we're sitting there, and just after daylight, this doe walks into the feeder, and I was like, "Well, this worked out perfect." And and she told me when we sat in the blind, she said, "Load your bow because I'm not sure I can do this." I said,
Yeah.
"Okay." I said, "There's no problem. And if you can't, you can't. Like, don't.
Nope.
I'm not going to give you any shit about it. Like,
Nope.
no, if you can't, you can't." And that doe got in front of us, and she thought about it for a little bit, and finally, I said, "Hey, you do whatever you want to, but we need to do something. This deer's been in front of us for like 15 minutes." And so she picked that bow up, dude, and I was so proud of her, man. She lined that shot up and squeezed it off, and I mean just buried it in her vitals. And then we sat there for a little bit, and she was all excited, of course. And then she said, "What, has it been long enough?" I said, "Yeah, we probably can go get her. You hit her pretty good." And she got out and found the first spot of blood, and all by herself tracked that deer, followed the blood trail, and found it. And then I walked up to her. She got up to it a little bit before I did. And I walked up to her and I was standing behind her. And she said, "Well, what do you do now?" I said, "Well, now's when we just take a moment. We give thanks that." And she goes, "I'm so glad you said that because I feel like that's what's the most appropriate thing to do." I said, "Yeah." So after we sat there quiet for a few seconds, I looked at her and she had a tear coming out of her eye. She said, "It's not something that I won't do again. It's just different than I thought it was going to be." And I was
Yeah.
like, "How so?" And she was like, "You almost have a connection with that animal. Like when you
Yes, you
take its
do. I
life,
was gonna say that when you were done.
yeah." And I was like, "Very much so, very much so." And she said, "I don't understand people that are so against this actually have no idea what it's about." I'm like, "Not at all.
They have
Not at all."
no freaking clue. I've always in my lifetime had a problem with people. I mean, a lot of people, but I've I've always had a problem with people who, right or wrong, but I believe that I should be right on this. I've always had a problem with the people who have an opinion on something they know nothing about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know
And
what I
have a
mean?
strong opinion about it. And
And
then and then be
and there's
like,
a lot who
eh,
have a strong opinion against what we do.
yeah, and then demand you have their opinion. And you're like, "You're so uneducated about this." Like,
That's exactly why I said last episode. I like I will have a deeper appreciation for these animals because I do what I do
exactly. And
than they ever will.
I guess I could see where somebody go, "Well, that's hard to understand." It's not hard for me to understand because I feel that way. But I guess looking from the outside in, I could see, but not to the point that you're going to say, "No, it's wrong and you're lying and you don't deserve to do this." Like, No, you don't get it. Like I will say though, what is surprising to me, the largest concentration of our population that is getting into hunting are like millennials and these younger generations, which seems so odd to me.
But one thing I always say, and it has proven to be true and over again for throughout the test of time, really, what's old is always new again, dude.
True. There's a whole lot of truth in that.
There,
Like,
what's old is always so. It's like it's almost like it's like a generational skip at times.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
where the cycle, and that's where it picks back up.
Yeah, that's there. Yeah, there's a lot of validity to that for sure. I mean, that's it's funny because like I mentioned last episode, my back in the day, my family was big waterfowlers. I mean, we were bigger waterfowlers than we were deer hunters for sure. And I had some work done on my heater at my house, and the guy came out to service it, and somehow duck hunting came up. I think he had a sticker or something on his truck, and we got to talking about it. And I was explaining how we used to hunt a lot of waterfowl, and asking him how it was these days. And he said, "Man, two things have ruined it." He said, as far as public land goes, he goes, number one, duck dynasty, because everybody decided they wanted to be a duck hunter. And he said,
Yeah,
and number two, it's these younger generations. And he's like, a lot of them haven't had anybody to teach them, so they don't know what they're doing. So there's all these, how it is with anything in the outdoors. There's always a lot of unspoken protocol. There's just certain things you don't do. You don't
Unwri-
walk into an area late making noise.
unwritten
Like,
rules.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He said, but he told me, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, dude, Duck Dynasty, it screwed up waterfowling so bad because he said you'll go to a public hunting area and there'll be like Cadillacs in the freaking parking area. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. And he said that one day they were hunting and some guy, he said, man, he goes, of course, it's hard to get away from everybody. And he said, ducks would start circling. And he was like, dude, they'd be a mile in the sky. And these idiots next to us are, throwing shotguns up and just, busting, sky busting at them. So he goes down and tells them, he's like, hey, man, the whole objective is to get him to decoy and have a
right.
better chance of killing him instead of just wounding him. And he said that guy talked to him like he was a redheaded stepchild, man, just cussed him out and everything else. I said, well, how'd you handle that? He goes, I shot two of their decoys and walked off. Like, oh, that dude, and that's dude. I wish we were still doing that, and you could come out and go waterfowl hunting with us. Those were the
I
man,
would.
bro. That was so fun. And my dad, dude, we had one hunting buddy that was my dad's college roommate, and he was like, everybody was always messing with that guy. Like you were always doing stuff to him, and and he always had, I don't know if he has GI problems or what, but we were always having to stop what we were doing for this guy to take a dump in the woods or something. And so like we used to have to drive about an hour and a half to this hunting spot. And so he couldn't make it in the truck that long. And he had this F-150 that he had a spotlight in the post of it. And so he's all excited because he got a 5-gallon bucket and he cut the bottom out of it. Now he's got a portable toilet to take with him everywhere. So we're driving on the highway to this hunting spot, and he just pulls over on the side of the road. It's like 3:30 in the morning. My dad's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I got to take a shit." And my dad's like, "Here?" He's like, "There ain't nobody driving down through here." So he gets out, gets his bucket all set, takes a magazine with him. Dude, it's like 20 degrees outside.
Takes a magazine. It's 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, he's out there with his headlamp looking at a magazine sitting on a bucket at 3:30 in the morning on a 2-lane highway in Oklahoma. Like, so
Only in Oklahoma, folks.
dude, so I'm sitting in the back seat of this truck and I'm looking at my dad like, are we really doing this? Well, then off in the distance ahead of us, my dad sees these headlights coming at us. And my dad goes, oh, watch this. So my dad leans over and grabs that spotlight handle. And just when this car is getting up in good view, he lights his buddy up that's sitting on that bucket on the side of the road. Dude looks like a deer in headlights as this car goes by him. Honestly, we were out there hunting one time, and my dad takes off. Is like, I gotta go find a place to use the bathroom. He takes off in the woods. He comes back, and that same buddy goes, "Hey, did you find a good spot?" My dad goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "Actually, there's a tree stump back over there." He goes, "And it's hollowed out. It just makes a perfect toilet." And he's like, "Perfect. Well, how do I find it?" So my dad gives him all these directions. And he takes off hiking back in the timber. We're hunting flooded timber. He gets up on dry land. He takes off for this tree stump. And my dad sits there and he starts laughing. I said, what's so funny? He said, well, I didn't use that tree stump. I said, then why'd you tell Tim to do it? He goes, because it's full of fire ants.
No, dude.
He came back, dude. He was so mad. he said those things chewed his ass up. And that's
Oh
the
my,
kind of shit my dad would do shit to that dude all the time that we went out hunting, dude. It was great stuff.
oh my God.
So much fun.
One of that's the one thing I don't have, and I'm really happy that you have it, and I'm really happy that a lot of the world has it. Um, Hunting is, since the beginning of time has been like the boys, right?
Right.
I don't have that. I've never really had that. It's always like just me. I don't ask people to go with me. I don't ask to go with people. And so
Do you
like
prefer it that way? I mean, do you prefer that, or would you like to like intermix some bro trips?
like with you guys, yes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
With you guys, yes. But I'm a natural loner, dude. Natural.
I mean,
Like
there's
I never went to like parties in school. I never like hung out with friends after games. It was just like it was
I
always
mean,
like just me.
I can
But
like
a big reason to that though is because of, and you know what? I'm doing really good right now. Like is because of my speech problem.
right,
You
right.
know, from being now I'm gonna do it because I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah, because you're talking
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Is like I was always embarrassed of my stuttering, so I always just like stayed
So
away.
that became the norm to you.
Just
Like,
being a natural loner, yeah.
yeah.
But like you and a lot of other people always like they always have these stories. I really envy you guys. I think I would would I like that? Absolutely. But I've never taken the chance or the opportunity to be like, hey, you know, I know you
Yeah.
hunt too. Do you want to go out or whatever? I've never done that. So honestly, all kidding aside, like I'm so excited for this coming year to like have that like first real moment with you and Johnny.
Dude, I'm looking forward to that too. Like I can't wait to for that time to come around and have that trip. But I get what you're saying about that because like I mean, like rifle camp here, like that side of my family, it's like my cousin, my uncle, my brother, it used to be my dad, me. Like there's 5 or 6 of us that go out to rifle camp together. But even during those trips, like I will have at least a day that I sit in a blind or a tree stand by myself, because I think if you're going to be out, man, that there's something. I definitely have a good time sitting in a blind with somebody, but
Yeah.
there's something spiritual about sitting in the woods all alone and just in the quiet. Like that's one of the places you can find that saying, the silence was deafening. That's the
Mm.
woods. I mean, it's so quiet, it's almost like hurting your ears at times. But
Well,
I think if you don't go out there and you find that spiritual connection with it, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
right.
Like,
I just wrote something not too long ago on social media about, like the sound of silence, right?
mhm.
But yet silence is actually really loud,
Yeah,
you know? It's
yeah, dude.
it can really sing to you too.
Well, I was gonna say that it's one of those deals that you can use for good or evil. Like, if you're sitting in total silence, I mean, you can either let your mind get away from you, or you can use it to, make your mind do productive things and come up with, planning things in this part or that part of your life, or finding inspiration to do this or that, or,
Right.
like I think everybody needs to find inspiration somehow. Like if you're not being inspired by something in your life, you're wasting time,
Now,
like
it's no secret to anybody who knows you that you are an extremely creative guy.
thank you.
How many times in your life, because it's happened to me, I'm not as creative as you. I try to be creative, but not as creative. Um, but like how many times have you been out in the wilderness and you just have that silence? There's nothing happening around you. Like 99.9% of the time when you're hunting, there's nothing going on around you.
Nothing at all.
But that's when the mind really start, like you come up with some amazing things and some of the most amazing thoughts, whether it's reflection,
Oh
whether
yeah.
whether it's thinking about the past or like where I'm gonna go like from this point on in my life, like where am I going to be? You know, you have all these different things that can just flood you when you're out in the timbers, and that's solely because of silence. It's
Yeah.
not, they are deeper than if you're driving in a car by yourself, because there's all this noise, there's cars going by, there's things you got to pay attention to. But when you are literally remote and there's nothing going on and it's you, and you look around and it's nothing but trees, there's nothing but a little bit of wind, and you don't see an animal, and it's just you, and you can self-reflect, you can, you know, expand your thought process on things and life. It's one of the most amazing things.
It's
I wish more people got, I wish more people just, honestly, even if you don't hunt, Shiner, I wish more people just go and find a log and sit on it.
for an extended period of time, not like 10 minutes. Like, I
No.
mean, you sit there and soak it up. And like, I told somebody recently, like, somebody said, I don't hunt, so I'll never have the chance to shoot wildlife like some of the pictures you've posted. And I'm like, but that's just it. Like, you could buy a blind. You could find a place you could set, or you could make a blind out of, it's natural deadfall in the timbers.
There you go.
You could find a way to do it. You don't have to hunt to do that. If you saw that picture that I posted and that inspired you and you wanted to go create things like that, then find a way to make it happen. Don't find excuses.
Yeah.
It's easy to find an excuse not to do something. Find the solution to it. Make that happen. You never know. That's like I told the girl that was talking to me about it. Like, you don't know. You could go through the little bit of trouble. You could end up shooting an award-winning photograph. Who knows what'll happen? But you'll never find out if you don't get off your ass and start doing it.
Memories aren't made on the couch, brother. Just like I
That's
said
it,
last
brother.
week. It's my
That's it.
favorite. It's my favorite quote of all time. Yeah. We're gonna have family game night. That's cool. Do that a couple times, but also take the family out.
Yeah, yeah. Get up, dude. That's
Go
one of the
for,
things
even
I
if you go for a hike, you're gonna see something cool.
that creek bottom that I've been hunting in. I don't have cell service there. And at first I was like, shit. But it's been such a blessing, dude. Like, I get there, I don't have any social media distracting me. I don't have emails distracting me, text messages, none of that shit. And it's like I can get alone with my thoughts and do some productive things with him. Like, my dad and I had a very tumultuous relationship, I guess you would say. But from October 1st to January 15th, we were good buddies, man, because we weren't even like, we got to the point that it wasn't even like a father-son deal. It was just like hunting buddies. And he had a lot of respect for my knowledge and vice versa, and it just worked out well. We were super tight during those months of the year. So this year, it's been a lot different for me. The nurses worked a lot, hadn't been able to hunt. I've sat every sit this year completely alone in that blind. And dude, I've done some soul searching, man. Like, I mean, my dad passed away. Him and I weren't speaking to each other at the time. And the last conversation we had was real shitty. And so I've had a lot of stuff I needed to deal with. And dude, there is no better. You can't tell me dealing with it in a therapist's office would be as beneficial as what I did in my eyes. Like, that's what I needed.
Right there.
And
Yes.
if a therapist is your gig, then I'm not going to talk shit on that. But I know for me, I feel more emotionally and mentally healed at the end of this season, even though I didn't accomplish what I set out to, than I did walking into it, just because I had all that time in silence to get my head straight. And it gave me a perspective that I wouldn't have had if I had all these outside distractions.
Isn't that amazing? Dude,
There's nothing like it, dude.
No, there really isn't. I wish, I really wish more. Like I said, even if you don't hunt, and if anybody is listening to this, if you legitimately just like, or like a homebody, that's okay. I got
Yeah.
my mom's a homebody. I take her up to see the elk. She's gone 2 times. It was one of the like biggest achievements of my life, was getting my mom out of the house to go see these elk. Right. But it's just like, just getting outside. It's the fresh air. It's seeing something different. I'm so big. I don't know if I've ever verbalized this. I may have written this before, but I'm not sure if I've ever verbalized this. I don't think you're a man's man. I know that to be true, and so am I. But one fear that I have is I'm like literally afraid almost to be in one place at the same time or see the same thing all the time. I rearrange my living room, Shiner, every 3 months. Like, I can only do so many different things with it because the shape.
Yeah.
but I rearrange it every 3 months because I physically need to see something different to feel refreshed. And so my like one of my biggest fears in life is like almost becoming complacent to where like I see the same thing over and over again. That's why I'm never home, man. That's why I'm always out in the mountains, because it doesn't matter if you go to the same spot in the mountains, the experience is always different.
Dude, in the mountains, you inevitably will have experiences in the mountains that don't make sense. You don't know why they happened.
It's
But they
because
enrich.
it's because we don't belong there. That's not our world.
But you walk away from it having it has enriched your life in some way,
Yes.
and it might just be seeing wildlife behave like they naturally behave. I mean, it could be something small. It could be seeing a stream that hits you a certain way that you were like, man, I have never thought I'd see anything this beautiful, like that's just, and we've had when I was younger, I think I was in my 20s, we went up to Montana to go mule deer hunting, and my dad being a cop, along the way, he's had friends retire or leave the department for this or that. And he had this one guy that he knew. They worked together when they were young, and he ended up leaving the department to do some other things. We hear through the grapevine that we heard, the last thing we heard about him, he was in Colorado working as a ranch hand. Well, we go up to Montana, and my dad goes and sits on the side of this mountain that's overlooking this meadow.
Oh.
He's waiting for some elk to come in there. And he said, man, it's probably a mile across from where he's sitting. And he said he sees this little orange vest on this guy. And he's like, huh? So he's like, so man, I sit there all morning, nothing. And this isn't a place that we've scouted. We're just kind of winging a prayer on this deal.
Right.
And so, and like I said, we were mule deer hunting, but we had got up in the mountains because somebody told us that elk were moving, and some of us had elk tags. But anyway, my dad, about midday, about lunchtime, he's like, well, I've got nothing else to do. I'm going to walk over and see what this old boy knows about this area. So he walks over, I'll be damned. He walked up on that dude, and that was that dude that he used to work with as a police officer.
Isn't that cool?
His name was Mackie. My dad was like, he was like, I'm literally sitting in a place that I was thinking earlier, this is like some place you feel like nobody's ever laid eyes on. Like it's so far back in the mountains.
Nobody's ever set foot in this same exact spot. Yeah.
He's like, and then I see a dude and I walk over there, and it ends up being one of my best friends for like my 20s and 30s. I'm like, what are the chances of that happening? I mean,
that's so awesome.
Astronomical. Like, and it rekindled a friendship, and they stayed in touch after that. And like, yeah, it's crazy, dude. I mean, but like I told my dad, think about that. If you weren't taught to hunt when you were a kid, like that right there would have never happened as an adult. Like, how wild is that, bro? Like, hunting can bring stuff to your life that you never imagined, that doesn't even really relate to hunting in one way or another.
Yeah, that's I think I think it's impossible. If somebody, if they do exactly what we're talking about, if they go out, they just, find a log to sit on for a few hours and just soak up life and everything. The one word that always comes to mind, and that I've always experienced 1000% of the time, it's never failed me, is clarity.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that 100%.
It's magical. I don't know, I just wish more people would experience being out in the I think we take patches of trees and patches of forest, patches of wilderness timbers, whatever you want to call it, for granted, because you see it every day when you drive.
Yeah.
But when you cross that threshold of that tree line, there's it's like the outside world stops the moment you step over that.
And what's crazy is like speaking on that, dude, like my blind is literally 50 yards from my front door. Like you got to walk down through the woods, and you go over this little ridge. But like from my living room, you can't see my corn pile. You can't see my blind because it's down below us. Well, where that ridge is, I told the nurse, the one thing I learned this year sitting there, where that ridge is, those deer know how far down that ridge they need to be so they can't be seen. There is an entire ecosystem going on while we're watching TV that we have no idea is taking place.
Amen, brother.
Johnny said the other day, he said, bro, leave that camera up. Like, leave that camera up in that spot just so we can see. I'm like, oh, I'm going to, like, for sure. But Yeah, there's all that stuff going on that you never see, and you're never going to see it if you don't engage it and get into that tree line and get back in there. What's really crazy is our fire pit. I've got a game trail that's probably 5 yards off the back of my fire pit that they walk up and down all the time, and I'm like, I had my blink camera notified me at 2 o'clock in the morning last night because I had a doe walk across the driveway. I'm like, we're definitely in the middle of it, and it's like I told the nurse the other day, I see all this stuff on the news and people living in cities, that would be hard for me to do anymore. Like now that I'm out away from it, and now I have like that peace. I mean, I literally walked 30 seconds down that trail and I can sit down there anytime I want and find that peace that you're talking about,
Yeah.
And
I, lo-
that's priceless, dude.
I,
I mean,
I lost a lot of that whenever I left Central PA, like the sticks of Central PA, and had to move down to Baltimore for work.
mhm.
I lost a lot of that. And I think everything within me kind of became more rich, if that's the right word that I'm thinking of. Like everything just felt more, almost like more powerful when I came back to Central PA.
Yeah.
You
Well, you
know,
have a new hunger for it,
you
like you
do because,
like to be without it.
yeah, it's almost, you know what it is? It's almost like, how can you miss me if I don't go away?
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like if you see something over and over, have something all the time, you're used to something, but you get a real deep appreciation when it's taken from you.
But like, see, last year I didn't hunt last year because the nurse was traveling a whole lot. I was kind of chasing her around the country and helping her with things, so I didn't end up hunting last year at all. So this year, even though my year was so frustrating and I just it was banging my head against the wall, I still had a lot more hunger about it this year than I had previous because I had been away from it for a year and it just
Right.
killed me last year not to go. I mean,
But the cool thing about your experience this year, and from you, sharing your experiences and stories on here, on social media and such, is the cool thing about being outdoors, and it doesn't matter how old you are, Shiner, is you always learn something. Like how much have you learned this year from this year's experience? You
oh,
know,
a
and you've been
plethora.
doing it your whole life.
Yeah.
You always learn something. That's part of the magic of all of this.
I'd come in from hunting, and my girlfriend, I'd be so frustrated, and she'd tell me like, babe, like you said before the season opened, you said we're gonna have to learn the deer out here. Like, well, it'll take a season to learn kind of how they operate out here. And that's like you're saying, like, so yeah, I don't have meat in the freezer, but I gained so much knowledge about what they do at different times in the season that next year walking into it, I kind of got the upper hand.
And next year, whenever you do bag one, because you will, I firmly believe that you're going to have that. Just like, if we go back to our previous conversation, whenever you bag one and you stand over it for the first time and you get to appreciate that, the knowledge that you gain is just going to enrich that whole experience.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, it's
They teach us a lot, and people don't think about that.
no, they don't think about it at all. But dude, I mean, and that's something that like, we definitely, when we were waterfowl hunting, we didn't have a moment of silence for every bird we killed because we killed some. But I guarantee you, before we started cleaning a mess of them, somebody had a moment of silence or said a prayer and a thank you
Yeah.
for were able to bring out of the woods that day. But yeah, dude, it's like you said, and I'm glad. Like I forgot until you were talking about it last week. I forgot about how Instagram was just this playground for the outdoor industry back in the day. Like,
That's
well, you
how
had
I
your
got out there at the time.
you had your deal because we had a deal Outcast Outdoors. That's how Outcast first started was an outdoor deal, and it got we were definitely gaining steam. And same thing with you, like people were sending us free stuff all the
Oh,
time, and like
that's how I
you're
got hooked up with Under Armour. Literally
like,
Under Armour.
you're like, what's going on, man? Like, I had stuff, and then even when it kind of died down, I would find free products that I had stowed in the garage and stuff. Like, oh shit, I forgot I had this. Like,
Exactly.
but all of my tree stands have locks on them because somebody sent me a bunch of tree stand locks for free. I was like, okay, I wish it'd go back to those days. Those were good times.
Yeah, dude, is it really was magic what all that during that time period, like that's how I got discovered through all this stuff, like I wasn't some big name or whatever, but like I got to do a filming for the outdoor channel, You know what I mean?
That's cool. I mean,
Experience that. I'm telling you, that was such a magical time. So I gotta let's say this real quick. 2014, I was at the Great American Outdoor Show. Nobody's ever been,
I want to go to that,
dude. Please.
Yeah, I want to go to
Shiner.
that
It's an
so
hour and a
bad.
half from my house. Stay at my house.
Oh God, I want to go to that so bad.
2014, I go up there, and I'm in like the prime of like Instagram outdoors,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I'm walking by, and I'm like in the archery section because that's my jam. And I get this tap on my shoulder, right? And I'm like, I'm thinking like it might be like a classmate because I grew up an hour and a half from here,
Yeah.
from there. And I get this tap on my shoulder, and it was this girl who like we both followed each other on social media. She's hooked up with Bowtech, and like she recognized me, but it was like, but like everybody was like recognizing everybody. It's the largest outdoor show in the world.
That's cool.
And it's like, oh yeah, like yeah, we follow each other. Cool. Let's take a picture together, and all these different things. And that
the camaraderie was cool.
And there wasn't like, I hate to say it because it does give hunters a bad name, but like there's a lot of jealousy in this stuff amongst
there's
people.
a lot of shit talking. Yeah.
There on that platform, people were for people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like a bunch of hate and all this other stuff, and
right.
It's just like, hey, her name at the time was Gia Huntress on Instagram, and she was hooked up with Bowtech, working the Bowtech booth, and she just walked down because she recognized me, and like that wasn't the first time that ever happened. I was at a Walmart, which was kind of strange, but like at the outdoor show, it was really cool because like you really felt like you belonged if you like were really submerged in it, and everybody was cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Is that weird to you when people recognize you in public like that?
Yeah. I mean, so like I told you before, whenever I came down, like the first like thing that I ever like had to do with like, well, I wasn't even really recognized, I don't believe. But like whenever I spent my summers up in Canada playing baseball.
Yeah.
After this game, and there was a line of people just like wanting autographs. And I'm saying like, oh, well, okay, sure. You know what I mean? Like, but like it is a weird feeling. It's cool.
I know Titty and I, one of the projects we've had over the years, and actually this one was actually kind of was getting steam, and then the pandemic happened. But but we used to do a show, we have medical marijuana here, so we had a show on YouTube named 420 Eats, and basically it was diners, drive-ins, and dives with a little bit of a weed twist. But it got popular enough locally that if I went into a dispensary, people would talk to me like they knew me. And like in actuality, even though I put a lot of things online, in the real deal of life, I'm a pretty private person. And so, dude, it would freak me out, man. I mean, I'd be like, and then I'm always like, do I know this person? Like, why are they speaking to me like we're friends, or we're acquaintances? Like, it just was always a bizarre feeling to me.
Right. Yeah.
We do a lot, and we used to not. We haven't done it since things got loosened up after the pandemic. But we do a lot of stuff at like local music venues. Me and Titty will MC, shows they have at music venues and stuff, and like. People walking up talking to us like they know us, and I'm like, I don't know who the hell this person is. I'm always asking Titty, do we know them? He's like, I don't know. Like,
that's super awesome.
It's so weird, dude. It's so weird.
It's a cool feeling though.
It is kind of, yeah. At first you're like, okay, well, just that they pay that much attention to what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I mean, we got like, the 420 Eats. He did the big thing at Rocklahoma with one of the. Well, I mean, his camp was awarded the craziest party for a handful of years. So like, there's people that know of us, but like they always approach us like we're long lost friends, And I'm always like, who the hell is this person? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Speaking of like, people into recognition, here before we sign off, Shiner, I want to give a shout out to I joined a private bow club.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
I joined a private bow club, and I'm actually wearing their stuff right now. It's called Black Eagle Bowman. So let's recognize them a little bit here real quick. Yeah. I lucked into free gear already. Like these people are awesome. There's my favorite price in the world is free 99. So I got the free hat, I got the free shirt, but I met this guy named Chad. He's on the board. And I'll explain what this club is like because I really want people around here to know about this. But this guy named Chad, he's going to Vegas. I think he said February 2nd to shoot in the largest archery contest in the world.
Oh, wow.
Or 4,000 archers at one time.
Wow.
And I think he said it's a cash prize. But dude, he shoots competition, you know?
Yeah, that's impressive. Those dudes are ridiculous, bro.
So I'm like at the far end, you know, like there was nobody else there, but I just picked the lane the furthest to the left and I'm shooting, you know, and I'm doing pretty good. I'm shooting, and then this guy walks in, this guy named Chad, who I met, and he comes in, he puts all his stuff on, he screws in his stabilizer, he goes over 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
Yeah.
So the first thing I ever said to him, other than hello, because you know he walked in, I was done shooting, he was done shooting, we were going to retrieve our arrows, and I was like, does that ever get old? Just like hitting bullseye every time.
And then another bullseye.
and then he proceeds to tell me that he's going out to Vegas and all this other stuff. And he said if you go out to Vegas and you miss 110, you have no chance. Isn't that crazy?
Shiner, to be that dialed in.
Yeah.
Like if special operators snipers were archers, that's the dudes they'd be.
Like, this dude was excellent. It was so fun to watch, dude. So fun to watch. So, you know, there's a scorecard there if you play 600. So you shoot 3 arrows at a time, 20 times or whatever. You know what I mean? You got the 10, 9, 8 rings and all this other stuff. I went and shot today, and I shot a 541 with a compound. I'm okay with that. It's not bad.
All right.
But, you know, like, so basically it comes out to like, I was like a 9 almost, almost every time, or 9 point whatever every time. But, you know, to be a 9 every time, you got to shoot it.
That's solid. That's solid.
It is. And I always thought that was awesome. But the whole time I'm thinking of Chad, and he's like 600 guy, you know?
Yeah.
But so
Screw you, Chad.
Yeah. but good luck, Chad.
Yeah. Bring home the gold, buddy.
Bring home the gold, the Black Eagle Bowman.
Dude, I'm so impressed by people that have a talent and can dial it in like that. Like, that's impressive, bro.
It was. I've never watched anybody do that before. And then like it was the same hole on his target every time. Like, why put paper up, dude? You're not hitting any anymore because it's all blown away. You know,
dude, people like that are just crazy to watch. Like, I've only seen competition archers shoot a couple times, but yeah, every time I'm like, holy Lord, like, how do you get that accurate with something?
It's so super impressive. But so I do want to talk about Black Eagle Bowman because Shiner, this place is 15 minutes from my front door, and I never knew about it. And it's been in business for over 60 years.
Oh my God.
Dude, they don't advertise. They said they go off of word of mouth. The one thing so this individual named Chad, which by the way, good luck. I was asking him about because he said he was on the board of directors. So I was just asking questions, you know, it's just kind of like what I do. He said there's 150 members, which is awesome. But this place, dude, is so cool, and I'm allowed to bring guests. So when you guys come on up here, we're gonna go.
That's cool, dude.
$35 for an entire year membership.
That's smoking good, dude.
It's $35.
We got one north of town in Tulsa, and I think for a year out there, it's like it's either 65 or 85. Like, it's that's a smoking good deal.
So where I shot my deer this year, dude, it's it's called the Scotia State Game Lands, okay? And not every state game lands in Pennsylvania have like rifle ranges and pistol ranges and archery ranges. Very, very few do. But the nicest one, thank God, is right here by my house. So they have a really nice archery range. It goes out from 10 yards out to 50 yards, fresh bags, everything's pristine. They poured concrete, you know, there's like sidewalks up to the actual targets. It's beautiful. And I've been out there, dude, shooting in the freaking shivering. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't hit sand if I fell off off a freaking camel. I'm down here doing this stuff. So then I find out about this place by accident. So I went and I signed up. I joined. You get a key to the place. It's open 24/7, 365.
Wow.
Because you got your own key. Indoor is 16 lanes. Wow. So you can stay out of the elements and shoot.
Wow.
I think there's 30 minimum, but I think it's over 30 3D targets out in the middle of the woods.
That's legit.
$35. So literally anybody listening to this from Center County or and beyond, really not too far away, for $35, you have the world on like by the balls with this deal, dude.
Jump on that.
Isn't that cool?
Shooting 3D targets is so fun too.
Like, it really is.
My buddy down the road, he owns a bait shop, and he's got a 3D archery range out there next to the bait shop. And that's a kick in the ass. I love that.
It's so fun. Actually, I was at a Bass Pro yesterday, and they had a third of the size of an elk. But like, I want to go 100%.
Yeah.
But like, where am I going to put the size of an elk? You know what I mean?
But it'd be cool.
It would be cool. And I'd be walking by and there'd be bullet holes in it and stuff out. But yeah, man. So, dude, I think this is a really fun episode, dude. I think we covered a lot of stuff. We told some great stories as always. And I really hope that somebody, from the things that Shiner was saying, the things that I was saying, I really hope that some people just at least one time, because I promise you it will lead to more. So just start with one time. Just go for a walk out, just cross that threshold within the woods, find a trail, even if you want to, and just go. And the mental clarity you will have is unlike any experience you'll ever have.
Better than anything you can spend money on.
I don't know, dude. This Jim B was pretty good tonight. But other than alcohol, it's pretty good.
Right on.
Yeah. So real quick, because I've been refreshing. I swear to God, I went on this really long trip yesterday, as I said. And I get on Apple Podcasts all the time. I listen to a slew of them. I don't listen to music anymore, really. I'm just a podcaster through and through anymore. And I've been refreshing. When can we expect the next Titty and Shiner show to come out?
It'll be out Monday.
Monday
for sure. Yep. Yeah, we'll have a new episode out Monday. We took this week off because my hunting schedule got into the recording schedule. So we took this week off. But yeah, we'll be back Monday.
I totally understand. I totally understand. But so, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard of Titty and Shiner show, it is freaking awesome. It's hilarious. Him and Big Titty, they do an awesome job. I'm a huge fan, have been for years now, and I'm so thankful that I know you guys. Thankful that I met you guys in person too. So
sure.
If you've never listened to it, tune in. Make sure you tune into this show. And where can they find you on social media, Shiner? I didn't ask you last week.
Oh, it's best place to get us is on Instagram. It's Titty_and_Shiner. And Titty is actually with D's, Tiddy. So I know the way I say it, it's hard for some people to understand. But yeah, Titty. And then you guys can DM us there and we'll get down to business.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I think this was honestly like this. Every time I talk to you, it's just awesome. Everything just flows. We have good. It's
always
content.
A good time. Yeah,
it's always a good time, man. So,
for sure.
Hey, dude, I look forward to this upcoming year talking to you.
Yes, sir.
At some point, I'm going to have you back if you're willing, and we'll,
Oh yeah, man.
We'll start to jive about what's coming up in the future, and hopefully, folks, next week. You will have the absolute wilderness gangster that is Chelsea Falcon on the show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, dude. Follow her. She's cool, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Todd Orndorff. Thanks for tuning in. Out. Oh, wait. Dude. Can we wrap it up? Can we leave our mark on the world?
Hey, you guys get out there, kick the day in the ass, leave your mark on the world.
Bang! Out.